Hello there, I'm Makra Papali.
And I'm Devil Willifeer.
Welcome to episode 7 of Meat Matters, where we get to the meat of the matter on everything beef. Meat Matters is brought to you by the Red Meat Industry Forum. Devil, now I would like to kick off today's episode with a couple of questions. In case you didn't know, we know that the red meat industry in South Africa is world class. Now, please tell us about the scale of our industry in South Africa. For example, how many cows do we have?
Mac, we've got approximately just shy of 13 million cattle in South Africa. That's the national herd. Now, the national herd is obviously divided into a commercial sector and to an emerging sector. And that split is roughly 60-40. When we talk about our herd size, obviously it's also very important to mention our consumption. Now, we roughly consume or slaughter approximately 2.6 million cattle per annum, and that goes to 700,000 kilograms of meat consumed annually in South Africa. It seems big, but it works out to 13 kilogram per capita. That means if we take the people in South Africa, each and every person eats 13 kilograms of meat per year. Now, you cannot necessarily take it like that because there's some people that do not eat red meat. And so obviously there are people who eat way more than 13 kilograms per annum, and there are some of them who do not eat red meat at all. But at this stage, I think we're happy with the consumption within South Africa, and we understand that we're not necessarily going to grow the internal market any further, and I think we've reached capacity within South Africa. So we're setting our sights on international markets at this stage.
So I just realized that I've been doing this show for the longest time with Devout, and I haven't actually asked you a very personal question. Your favorite cut of beef, and how do you like it?
My favorite cut is rump steak with a lot of fat, medium rare, and it's just actually hot on the one side, hot on the other side. That's the best for me on a braai.
Now, Devout is a man that, supports transformation and emerging farmers. I understand that that is very close to your heart.
Yes, Mac, I believe in inclusive growth. I understand that, and not going into too much detail with regards to the history of South Africa, and we all understand it, but there's a necessity of growing together. There's a necessity of looking at what happened in the past and how we need to grow together in creating a new South Africa, a better South Africa with regards to agriculture specifically. And I think we have got the making in South Africa to show the rest of the world, as we have done previously, that we can stand together and we can have inclusive growth in our beautiful country.
So, how important is the red meat industry to our economy?
Pretty much huge. If we look specifically at the volumes that we produce and what the making is with regards to the GDP and agricultural GDP, red meat and specifically beef, I think takes approximately 30% of it, 13% of it. So we've got a huge contribution with regards to the GDP. And at the end of the day, there are a lot of meat eaters in South Africa. There are a lot of meat eaters still in the world. And we've got an opportunity to exploit a lot of meat eaters in the world.
So coming up next, let's welcome on set Mr. Wandile Sihlobo, here to discuss this and other matters with us. He's the Chief Economist of the Agricultural Business Chamber of South Africa. He's coming up next. Welcome to Meat Matters, Wandile.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
So let's start with where you started and how you got here.
Yeah, so I am from the Eastern Cape province. And even my education then starts from that side at the University of Forte in Alice. And then from there, I went to Stellenbosch, Stellenbosch University. And then from there, I started being active in the world of work with Grain South Africa, which is an important stakeholder, obviously, for the meat industry, providing feed both on maize and soybeans. And then from Grain SA, I joined the Agricultural Business Chamber of South Africa, which is where I'm currently at, responsible for the economics work within the organization. And obviously getting involved throughout time with all the regulatory work and everything that ensures the sustainability of the overall sector.
Wandile, I believe sub-Saharan Africa's food security has turned out better than feared, but risks still remain. What is the situation currently and what are the risks?
Yeah, 100%, Divot. You remember that when the pandemic started, we were all worried that the sub-Saharan Africa region will struggle to have sufficient food because we're already coming from seasons that have experienced drought and all kinds of things. So with people outside of work because of COVID, we're thinking that conditions will be tough. But we were lucky because it was a season of higher rainfall, which led to improvement in crop yields, record maize harvest for a number of countries. You think about even Zimbabwe, they having the biggest maize crop since 1984. So all of that improved the food availability on a number of countries in the sub-Saharan Africa. But we do worry, obviously, going forward, because there were two things that were catalysts of improvements. It was rainfall and also some seeds and inputs that were provided by the governments. And now with all of those possibly falling out in the next season and uncertainty about the weather conditions, and those are the key risks to say, from 2022 going to 2023, what will conditions be like?
So now SA is gearing up for another agricultural harvest. And therefore, it will come to a point whereby we have to export on a larger scale. So let's talk about the logistics behind it. What goes in, what goes out?
Yeah, Mac, the logistics have always been one of the key concerns for the South African agricultural sector, in a sense that we have depended obviously on two things. If you think about how we transport our grain from central South Africa to the ports, we're basically using roughly 70% of it is transported by road, and then we have the rest transported by rail. But where the challenges have been over the past couple of months, we've been on the ports to say, how do we move efficiently with speed, cost effective, all of the produce out of the country. And those challenges are being now addressed though with Transnet. And by challenges, I'm basically referring to delays that were happening there with some of the produce getting rotten and not moving on time, and the financial losses, obviously, that farmers and everybody gets to experience there. Now, as we're gearing for the harvest and another big season of exports, we think that the current conversations that are happening in Transnet, increasing its efficiency, will allow us to be able to export more efficiently than the previous years.
Wandile, obviously, when it comes to South Africa's agriculture and land reform, what do you think? How far are we from an integrated and inclusive rural economy?
Yeah, that's a difficult question when we begin to think about land reform. And as you 100% know, that we don't really have a comprehensive survey that tells us about how the progress is on land reform. You speak to one person that is coming from the government, they will say 9%. But some of the numbers that we have worked on with people like Professor Johan Kirsten at Stellenbosch University, we think that the progress has been roughly around about 21% compared to the 30% that the ANC had targeted in its initial documents. But obviously, as you know from the Feedlot Association, that there's a long way to go. But the positive thing is that through the master plans, through the blended finance instruments, which all of us in the organizations or organized agriculture are involved in, over time, we hope that those will be able to assist us. And government also is sitting with roughly over 2 million hectares of land that we think that releasing that and putting into food production will lead to progress.
If you can choose, grain farmer or cattle farmer?
It's a difficult one because they are
what would you want to be?
I'll go for cattle farming.
Okay, wonderful. Coming from the Eastern Cape, that's the correct answer.
Wandile, thank you for joining us today. And yeah, congrats to you and your team. And we're looking forward to seeing you next time around.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wandile.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's entertainment time. And it's a pleasure to welcome South Africa's legend himself with hits over 2 decades. You know him. Yes, now you know who I'm talking about. Jakkie Louw, welcome to Meet Matters, my friend.
Thank you very much. Can I speak in my English accent?
Welkom Jakkie, jy kan maar Afrikaans ook
Baie
in
dankie.
gooi. Dis
Ek wil net
fyn.
sê Mackie, ek het meer as een song, Pikkewyne is een van hulle. Okay. Jakkie Louw's greatest hits, 1 song on an album, 3 Pikkewyne.
Jakkie,
Yes.
tell us about yourself. Where do you come from? Who are you? What makes Jakkie Louw Jakkie Louw?
Okay, so ek is van Oudtshoorn af, gebore in Oudtshoorn in die Klein Karoo. My pa was 'n dominee gewees daar vir 'n paar jaar en toe later in Bellville, so ek het matrikuleer in Deefman Hoërskool in die Kaap. My pa ook 'n dominee was. En ons het 'n Battle of the Bands gehad daar van kleins af. Al die groot bands van die Kaap ons was almal in dieselfde tyd gewees. Ek en ons van King, Jewels, François, ons almal was in dieselfde era gewees wat nogal baie cool was. Ons het by mekaar maar eintlik triks geleer van songwriting en ons almal het Paul Jam geluister natuurlik daai tyd, almal rockstars wees. En vandag is ons groepie eintlik maar almal in die industrie en ons is suksesvol. So om in 'n nutshell, ek is 'n songwriter wat in flieks speel partykeer, maar ek speel myself. En ek skryf boeke en ek doen wat ook al vir my gelukkig maak. Ja.
Cool.
So, Prof, speaking about boeken.
Ja.
Books. Speaking about books, you see what's happening now. You're throwing me under the bus. Speaking about books, you wrote a children's book.
Ja. Ek het
What inspired that?
Okay, so ek het 2 klein dogtertjies, ek weet jy weet.
Ja.
En Lincoln en Cara, so dis kom vir my baie natuurlik om vir hulle stories te vertel in die aande, you know. Maar daar is net soveel idees oor prinsesse en prinse wat gaan trou en so ek het so nuwe goed begin uitdink het. So the whole vibe of the Little House on the Prairie is kind of ek het daai idee gebruik van waar kom suiker vandaan, waar kom papier vandaan, waar kom tee vandaan. En ek het ingeskryf in 2 karakters en ek gaan stadig praat, ek praat baie vinnig. Mac, jy sê ons het een aan die fout gemaak by 'n plek waar ek iets al gekuier het. Phileas en Pokkel. Mense sê dit stadig. Phileas en Pokkel. Moet asseblief nie die P en die F omdat Phileas en Pokkel, okay? Okay, so hierdie 2 meise is op die boer se plaas en hulle kyk, hulle sien net wat die boer doen, jy weet, hy maak koffie byvoorbeeld vir die kinders dan. Nee, maar waar kom koffie vandaan? En nou Phileas het baie wisdom, jy praat heeltyd so, hy's baie slim en verskriklik maar klein. Ek het al die klein gaatjies ingaan. Maar Pokkel, hy's 'n bietjie dom. Hy wil net weet waar kom al die goed vandaan. So ek doen al die karakters basies.
Ja.
Dan is daar kraai! Sky die kraai! En hy sal 'n superheld repel want hy kan vlieg.
Ja.
So ek het met hierdie poppekas 8 karakters gedoen en ek het die boek geskryf. Ek het 3 boeke geskryf en ek het die karakters ontwikkel, ek het die liedjies geskryf. Op die ount ek die boeke begin verkoop en ek toer oral daarmee. Ek toer reg oor Suid-Afrika voor COVID, het ek getoer in Australië. Ek was in Brisbane geweest met die actual konsep van Phileas en Pokkel. Toe kon ek die beste skrywer in Suid-Afrika volgens my. Jakkie Louw in Bloemfontein. Hy is net, as jy kinderboeke by die huis het, is hulle waarskynlik Jakkie Louw. Dus ek vir my help my met die konsepte. Kom ons brei die karakters uit. Dus skryf hy vir my die 3 boeke oor. En toe het ek nou 'n nuwe boek geskryf saam met 'n vriend van my wat saam met Liz Meyering werk. Ek name drop nou vir haar want sy is ook betrokke in die produksie. Sy is die kraai en die kat en 'n paar van die karakters. Rietse van die Wesduisen ook en Hannes Brummer ook. Hannes Brummer is 'n vroue rasta. Kokkerot.
Nee, maar. Okay.
Maar so ek het alles is hierdie week is dit eintlik nou maar klaar en te koop basies. Die mense gaan begin online bestel. Die poppekas gaan ons toer mee. So dis my so opwindende ding hierdie nuwe skryfding wat ek nou doen. So dis nie alles ek het baie vriende wat my help. Ek is maar nou net die ou wat dit basies na die mense gaan bring.
No, it's wonderful, obviously, and I've got a lot of children as well. But sometimes they need to eat.
Ja.
So we know that you like red meat.
Ja.
What is your favorite cut? What do you like about red meat?
Kyk, for someone like me that travels a lot, is biltong en droewors on the road because we need to keep our physique, you know, and because eat the protein, los die brood, you know, that type of thing. So ek gaan vanaand 'n stukkie braai, what I do. Ek kry vir my lekker matured rump en ek braai hom baie warm kole en ek plankie steak hom. So as jy by my show aankom, as jy by my huis aankom by die Pikkewyne Mansion, the first thing you'll get is plankie steak. Wat ek dan doen, ek braai vir ons boerewors ook. En hier's 'n ding wat mense nou gaan grill, but try it at home once in your life. Vat boerewors, dun boerewors, braai dit lekker 2 groot rolle, syd sulke stukkies op, gooi hom goue stroop. Skit hom in jou braaibak en bedien dit vir die mense. Jy moenie vir hulle sê goue stroop. Jy sê net hulle gaan sê where did you get this caramel full boerewors thing?
Yeah.
And wait for the compliments.
You see, you just give away a secret now. So we're all going to try it at home. That's
En nog 'n ding wat ek wil, kan ek nog 'n ding vra vir jou?
Ja.
Het julle al ooit getraai om rampsteaks op mekaar te braai? So what I mean is 2 rampsteaks so, okay? 2 hoopies, 4 rampsteaks. You turn around like that, okay? Turn like on each other like that. Turn like, het julle dit ooit getraai?
Ja.
No.
Ou een keer in Warmbad het vir my gedoen. En ek weet nie of die vleis baie goeie gehalte was nie, maar dit is vir my van die juicieste vleis wat ek dink 'n bietjie daaroor. Al die
Juices bly binne.
ja, so as jy normaalweg braai, val dit mos maar aan die vuur.
Ja.
Nou gee ons al 'n bietjie van 'n kans dat 'n bietjie daarvan agterbly in die vleis. En dis nog 'n tip wat ek geleer het. Ek het nog nie weer gedoen nie. Daai ou het 'een keer gedoen. Sê ek, "Wow, dis die lekkerste vleis op my lewe."
Wow.
En dit was normale rams geweest wat hy seker by een van die plekke gekoop het op die dorp.
The big thing is you need to eat 4 rams then.
Exactly. Well, you can have 4 people as well. You can all be
Sharing one steak. Yeah.
But you would want to eat all 4.
How big is your steak? Luister, so I understand that you, before lockdown, you were doing the whole 50 towns tour.
Yeah.
And then lockdown hit. How did that affect you and what's coming up for Jakkie Louw?
Okay, yeah. So Mac, what happened actually is I think the regulations were 50 people. And then a friend of mine phoned me, Tobias in Cape Town, and says, Jakkie, 50 mense. Daai 50 mense in die plek wil tog 'n show sien. Sê ek, "Weet jy wat? I will do a show for 50 people. I'm not going to be the guys who no, I want to sing 500 people. I want to do 50 people because I keep on working. I keep on bringing my music to the people. And all the small towns, al die klein dorpies waar ek nooit by uitgekom het nie, het my begin boek. Skielik sing ek by plekke wat ek nuwe kliënte afmaak. Jy weet, môre oormôre is die hekke weer oop, dan is daar 500 mense en wat ek het by hulle gaan sit, saam met hulle drankie gedrink, jy weet, saam met hulle geëet om 'n tafel. Van die plekke was daar 10 mense geweest, 5 mense geweest, maar ek het vir hulle gaan sing. Because that is what I do. It's not about Jakkie Louw, it's about the music. And if it's about the music, dan sal jy altyd na die mense toe gaan, alles wat die musiek maak tot die dag wat ek sterf. So dit gaan baie goed met my om vraag te beantwoord. Daai konsep het vir my, I think, 'n goeie energie afgegee en almal kan aanklank vind daarmee. Bring vir ons musiek.
I think COVID did many things, and we've had it on the previous show as well. COVID did many things to many people. But, I mean, even when Joe was here, Joe Black, what I heard from him is he used this as an opportunity to do something else.
Yeah.
To be creative, to not sit and cry or mope, but use the COVID and the situation that we're in as an opportunity to create something bigger.
Ja, kyk my sussie is nou in Oudtshoorn, hulle boer. Dit reën baie min daar nê. So hulle plant daai sade sonder 'n belofte van reën. Nou hoekom sal ons musikante nie die sang skryf sonder belofte van 'n hit nie?
Ja.
Dis die same concept. Jy moet geloof hê, jy weet. So vir my tyd gewees om baie nuwe liedjies te skryf, so ek sê die boeke en alles. Creatively kon ek nie daar kom in die middel van 'n 200 shows 'n jaar toer nie.
Correct.
Dis wat ons doen al vir jare. Ons toer 200 shows 'n jaar heeltyd. Partyke shows Saterdagmiddag hierso en Saterdag aand daarso. Verstaan? Daar's nie tyd om te dink nie. Daar's nog family. Daar's nog jou vrou. Verstaan? Dan waar jy tyd om te gaan sit en sê, okay, kinders by die skool, ek hoef nie te toer hierdie week nie. Kom ons skryf 'n boek. Kom ons doen iets amazing, jy weet. En ek het ook, ek wil dis sommer bysê, dis 'n bietjie verrassing. Ek het 'n klere ding begin, né? En jy weet daarvan. Jy skimp al baie lank af voor.
Ek wag nog, by the way.
Ek het 'n ding gepost van 'n nuwe hemp wat ek uitbring. Nou hierdie hemp het ek gesien op die internet van 'n ou met naam Burger, hy help die boere en goeters. Dis ek, maar dis baie cool.
Ja.
Toe sê hy vir 'n klomp e-mails, maar kom nie terug na my toe nie, want ek wil dit aankoop. So toe maak ek my eie. En Mac het gesê, wanneer kry hy syne? Nou Mac, jy lyk baie goed, het jy gegym?
Yeah, no, Devil has been giving me some good meat.
Yes, man.
I've been losing a couple of
Jy lyk
weights.
so Backstreet Boy.
Ja. What an example.
So ek jy lyk baie goed. So ek het vir jou 'n medium hemp gebring, so ek wil nou vir jou gee.
Yeah!
Hierdie is Mac se Jakkie Louw band
There we go.
merch. Ons almal het so 'n matras gehad tannie.
There we go.
Ja, dis
Wat
reg.
sê die mense? Dis is daai gordyne gewees en ek sê ek nee. Dis die matras en sy gaan vra vir jou ma, dalk is hy gemaak op die matras. Hierso. Daar's vir jou 'n lekker vrokkie, Mac.
Devil, I'm going to have to hook you up with one too. Definitely. The boss, I hope you're ready. Nelly Tanis.
Baie dankie, Jakkie. It's good to have you here. Feel your energy. It's good. We love it. And keep on eating red meat.
Baie dankie en weer eens die song wat ek gaan doen nou in Africa Smiles. Sing Mac Pepale. So I want to challenge you to sing it with me. I need a saxophone. Okay.
All right,
Kan jy
cool.
maak 'n saxophone?
Yeah, no. I'm there.
So keep on smiling, that's all I'm saying. Yeah, and eat meat.
So coming up next, Jakkie Louw gives us an exclusive behind the scenes, first ever on Meat Matters, Masi Jaive.
The sun will rise on African skies. I will see you, you will see me. I can feel you when Africa smiles. Hear the drums, hear the nights, and the heartbeats, the firelights. I can feel you when Africa smiles. Goeiemorgen, Sawubona. Good morning, Kunjane. Can you feel it when Africa smiles? Goeiemorgen, Sawubona. Good morning, Kunjane. Can you feel it when Africa smiles? Play the saxophone there, come on. Ba 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 ba, 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 ba 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 ba. You'll hear it in our music, children singing. It sounds so sweet. Clap your hands, stomp your feet when Africa smiles. Hear the drums, hear the night, and the firelights. We all need it when Africa smiles. Come on! Goeiemorgen, Sawubona. Good morning, Kunjane. Can you feel it when Africa smiles? Over here. Goeiemorgen, Sawubona. Good morning, Kunjane. Can you feel it when Africa smiles? I need that saxophone. Go on. Ba 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 ba, 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 ba 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 ba. Okay, Matt, help with this, Julie. We must dance, must jive, we must sing, must do it together. When Africa smiles, no me quiere. We must dance, must jive, we must sing, must do it together. When Africa smiles, make a vibe last year. Yeah, we must dance, hi, hi, yeah. We must sing, hi, hi, yeah. Together. When Africa smiles, can you show us, sure? Yeah, we must dance. Must jive, there we go. We must sing, must do it together. When Africa smiles,
Jakkie Louw!
must be time.
Woo! That's something to save my life. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, Jakkie Louw. Joining us today to speak on the very important subject of organic waste to energy conversion is a person who has been passionate about the environment since he was a child. Having worked on projects valued at over 500 million, he is the chairman of the South African Biogas Industry Association. Please welcome Jason Gifford.
Welcome, Jason.
Many thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Jason, let's jump into it. Please, can you explain to us what is organic waste to energy conversion and what are you looking to achieve by implementing it in South Africa?
Organic waste is defined as any waste stream that comes from an organic source. So the Red Meat Industry Association, it would be manures, it would be abattoir waste and the like. Outside of the industry would be any sort of food waste from agri-processing, retailing and so on. So it's a very broad genre, a very broad spectrum of what makes up organic waste. Broadly speaking, you can divide it into soft organic waste and into hard organic waste. Soft organic waste suitable for anaerobic digestion. Hard organic waste more looking at composting, so typical windrow type environment. Our main focus as the industry association is anaerobic digestion. It's like composting, but without oxygen. So instead of producing carbon dioxide and heat, anaerobic digestion will give you methane and carbon dioxide with heat input. So the opportunity is enormous. If you consider that most organic waste finds its way to landfill in South Africa, it's a resource that's just been thrown away. The real benefit of making use of organic waste, organic residues, is closing the nutrient cycle. So nutrient taken out of the ground through various inputs, whether it be chemical fertilizers, organic inputs, and so on, fed to animals, comes through the animal. You're left with nutrient that, if untreated or just dumped, is hazardous to the environment. So by taking that waste stream and by processing it further into a valuable end product, which would be nutrients and energy, you're not closing the cycle. So the relevance to the sector is enormous. It's retaining money within the sector. It's not, for example, most chemical fertilizer is imported. So the crop production to feed animals, there's a huge direct cost there that is just exported money all the time. By recycling nutrient, converting it into something that can be applied to that agriculture, you are offsetting the balance of money leaving the country.
So what are the processes you need to go through in order for you to implement this in South Africa's red meat industry?
I think there's sort of various levels of answering that. The first is the environmental authorizations. So you would need authorizations from the relevant departments, whether it be national or provincial. Most producers of organic waste would already know about the types of legislation that they have to comply with, because they would have been complying with it already. So whether that be water use licenses, whether it be emissions licenses, and so on. So that's the one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is selecting the right technology that's appropriate to your setting. So anaerobic digestion or biogas is not just a tank with some stirrers and some heating. It could also be a lagoon system, depending on what is applicable for your environment. If you have the space, if you have low quality input that requires a long digestion time, possibly a lagoon-based system is better for you. If you are in town, for argument's sake, as an abattoir, where space is limited, you may go for a tank system and maybe go for elevated temperatures to accelerate the decomposition. At the end of the day, you need to really be clear about what you want as an output from the process. The outputs from the process are nutrient, so the material that goes in gets recycled by the bacteria into a product that is readily applicable to agriculture. But as a co-product or a second product from that, you also land up with an energy-rich gas. The gas, commonly referred to as biogas, is primarily comprised of methane and carbon dioxide. The methane is the energy content. Once you have that gas, the limits are removed from what you can do with it. So if you are an abattoir and you are using paraffin for your hot water, you can offset that paraffin directly with the gas. If you are a feedlot and you require power, you could generate power on site and run your feed mill from that. So there are a number of possibilities, a number of options that you can do with it. It's every site is specific and driven by economic costs and what the requirements are of site.
I think, Jason, when we hear this and it's a new technology for us in South Africa, obviously the biggest thing is always cost. But what would you say is the major factor which we need to take into consideration when considering putting up a biogas plant or a lagoon, like you said? What is the major thing that we need to consider with regards to cost?
Be careful where you spend your money, I think is the most important point. The first thing, anaerobic digestion within South Africa and within the South African context isn't a new technology. It's been widely utilized in South Africa commercially for a number of years. It's a sector that's been marred with several failures of plants and projects, which sadly overshadow the successes. There are far more successful projects than there are failed projects. However, bad news travels much quicker than good news. But in South Africa today, there are less than 10 commercial projects that have failed and well in excess of 30 successful projects. The most important factor is choosing the technology that's right for your situation. So there's no point in putting a high rate, highly complicated digestion facility on a feedlot, as an example. The high rate, high technology solution may be better for a food processor that has already got the type of infrastructure, instrumentation, and personnel that can run it. Whereas, on farm, you want something that's a little bit simpler. It doesn't necessarily get all of the potential out of the substrate, but it's much simpler to run, much more forgiving in the way that it can be run. So in choosing technology, the first thing is finding the right partner to work with. And partnerships are very important in this. Finding a technology provider that's got local track record, that has got successful local references is absolutely key. It doesn't matter whether that partner is from a South African establishment or an international establishment, but the key is a local track record. And how do you verify that? The industry is small. Pick up the phone, speak to someone else, do a little bit of research. It's quite quick to find out who's been successful and who's doing what. The association, Sabia, is also a good place. You can come look on the website, have a look at the members and technology providers and so on. It's also a good starting point. With regards to cost, even a relatively simple plant, run on a commercial basis is expensive. There's no two ways about it. Yeah. But you got to start comparing apples with apples. The most common comparison is the cost of power compared to solar. Solar PV has a really good reputation of becoming increasingly inexpensive, and the price has been dropping at a phenomenal rate over the last 10 years or so. But be careful. If you want the power available 24 hours a day, the cost is a lot more than just the cost of the panels. A biogas installation is, in its very nature, is a base load plant. In other words, it will generate power come rain, come snow, come shine, come nighttime. It will generate power all the time. So to have power available 24/7 and on demand is very expensive when you compare all technologies on a like-for-like basis. The inherent advantage of anaerobic digestion is the gas is your battery, it is your means of storing energy. So provided you can store the gas, you can store your energy, and you can turn that energy on and off at any time you like. So again, maybe if I give a little example, a feedlot may be running its own feed mill and maybe only run that feed mill for 8 hours a day. So for the remaining balance of the time, you would store the gas. For argument's sake, in a lagoon, you would store the gas and then draw it down as you need it. On an abattoir, you may want to run your plant 24/7 because you've got a poor power connection, or your cost of power wherever you are warrants that you want to run your own power 24/7. Then you would have an engine that would run Monday to Sunday, 24 hours a day, and just be turned off for its service intervals. So depending on what you want from the project will dictate what the capital cost would be of that project.
It's very interesting. Jason, maybe can you give us the website where we can find, or the association's website where we can, if anybody wants to go look at it, can check it out?
The association is the South African Biogas Industry Association. The website is sabia.org.za, sabia.org.za. It's your best starting point as a repository for information on the sector, on who's involved in the sector, legislation, and projects, information, and all sorts.
Thank you very much, Jason. We know that you're very busy. Have a good one, and thanks again for the information.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for speaking to us.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Right, I'm pleased to introduce to you our next weekly segment. You know the man himself. He's always crazy about beef and helps us get the most out of beef. And this time around, he's going Biltong. I don't know if I can trust him on this one, Devil, but here is a video of Ryan, and he's talking about Biltong Potjie. Watch this.
Hello and welcome to this incredibly special episode of Ryan on Beef. Today I've got the person with me who's responsible for creating the very best of a South African icon. I'm talking about the best biltong in Gauteng. Please welcome Johnny Paraskopoulos. Johnny, how are you? It's good to see you. All good?
Thank you.
Congratulations, you've won the very best biltong in all of Gauteng.
Well, thank you. Apparently that's what they say.
Absolutely. So, Johnny, please tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where do you come from? And how did you get to become such a great butcher?
Well, I come from Vereeniging, all right, and we have a family store over there, and we got a small butchery, bakery, takeaways inside, and we try our best.
I got to say, in this competition, Johnny and his team went up against the very best in Gauteng of all butcheries, and you did come out tops. It's astounding. Please tell me, what is the name of your shop and where are you based?
Well, we're based in Sonnapark, Vereeniging, and it's Center Save Supermarket.
Center Save Supermarket beats all other butcheries in Gauteng for the very best biltong. And yes, we've got some of it right here in the studio today. And you know what? I thought the best thing I could do with it was to go back to our website, which is Beef Talk, and go there and check what is the most visited recipe we have. And it is the most stunning Biltong Potjie course. So remember that incredible Biltong Potjie course that I was referring to? Well, here it is. We've got it. But just before we taste, I wanted to ask you a question. Johnny, what do you think makes the best biltong? What do you think you need to take care of the most in the process?
In the process, well, I think it's got to do with the cut of meat, right? Getting a nice cut of meat, the spices, and being patient. Letting it marinate properly and not being too hasty.
So what cut of beef would you use?
I would recommend the silver side. I enjoy the silver side.
Well,
Yeah.
I tell you what, let's see if that has really happened with the making of your biltong. Let's see if that's been taken care of, because there's only one man that we can ask to make sure that this actually does taste all right. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the CEO of the South African Feedlot Association, Mr. Dewald Olivier. Now, Dewald, please taste and enjoy Biltong Potjie course. Please try.
We've heard so many about Biltong Potjie. Yeah.
I'm not saying a thing. I'm going to wait for Dewald to say.
It's actually the biltong that makes it good. I think that says it all.
That does say it all. Johnny,
No, it's lovely.
well done to you and your team.
Thank you so much,
Congratulations.
Ryan.
Well, one
Thank
more
you.
time, the name of
Yes.
your shop and where are you?
It's Center Save, and we're in Vereeniging.
We look forward to supporting you, even if we have to go all the way to Vereeniging for the best biltong in Gauteng.
It's lovely. I'll have more.
Fantastic. You
Thank
don't
you,
want to
Enjoy
go
it, enjoy it.
Please catch me next time on Ryan on Beef, when we're going to get to the bottom and the truth behind shepherd's pie or cottage pie.
I'm Makra Papali, and on behalf of the red meat industry and the South African Feedlot Association, thank you for joining us on Meat Matters. See you on the next episode for more on the best of beef. Be healthy, be safe, and keep enjoying South African red meat.
And as Jakkie Louw said, smile.
Bye. Cheers.
Cheers.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
One of those, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.